morning, Dr. Tan. I'd like to ask you a question.
Can you introduce yourself?
Oh, yes. Ko Tai An from Center for Liberal Arts and Social Sciences, NTU. Yes, I'd like to ask you a question with reference to your comment about change and the necessary agility to meet the challenges of change, including accelerated change. And then you mentioned about shaping the future, and hopefully that few mistakes have been made. I was there when you became the first Vice Chancellor of NUS and Minister of Education. I moved to NIE, and I'm now with NTU, doing that for 16 years, and therefore have seen quite closely your influence on higher education, because when you step down as Minister of Education, you retain a portfolio of being responsible for higher education. I'd like to ask you this question. Given these challenges of meeting change, and I might add, the law of inadvertent consequences, looking back over these many years, and you're in the most fortunate position to be able to answer such a question, has there been any wrong turn that has been made, that you feel something could have been learned from, and you learned from, and what that might be, and whether some decision that you have made which has also been the right one, and for which today you feel has had a great influence on higher education. Thank you. It's a large general question, and perhaps you might want to talk about specifics.
Well, I can say as a general principle that we have made mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. If you don't make mistakes, you do not progress. But I would also say, as a general principle, it's always better to look ahead to see what needs to be done and what are the problems to be solved. I don't see really a great deal of benefit in looking back to see what might have happened in hypothetical cases. We have to look back to see areas which we can improve, and I'm sure there would be many of them. But my approach has always been to study the past, but look to the future, because that is where that is what will benefit us. It's not that you completely forget about what you have done or you don't study your decisions, but it's more beneficial, I think, to look ahead and to see what are the new issues which come up, the new challenges, rather than to perhaps spend a lot of time discussing what might have happened, what I did right, what I did wrong. Although, of course, one has to have a sense of history, because as somebody once said, those who neglect history are doomed to repeating it again, and I think that's a very sensible move. Arnold, are there any facilities for the students in the other lecture theatre to ask questions? I don't know whether it's possible. Yes. We should allow them.
In the meantime, can you...
Hi, Dr. Tan. I'm Heatherley from the Associated Press. As you know, Singapore ministers have some of the highest salaries in the world, which in turn have fostered some resentment among many Singaporeans who consider it excessive. You are running for president, which currently has a salary of more than 3 million. So do you think that this is excessive? The government is also reviewing the salaries of top government officials. How much do you think the president's salary should be lowered by? 10, 50%, and what would be fair to you?
I'm not sure that it has a lot to do with education.
Well, as you know, that there has been a committee which has been set up under the chairmanship of Mr. Gerard Yee, with a number of people from various sectors to look into this whole issue of ministerial salaries, including that of the president. The committee is presently doing its work, collecting data, and I don't think that I should preempt the decisions or make any comment, but like everybody else, ministers and so on, I will abide by their decision. I'm sure that they'll make a good and wise conclusion.
Do we have questions from the other room, or otherwise, yeah?
Thank you. I'm Queen from SUTD. Coming back to the topic of the futures of higher education, I'd like to know, find out, what do you think is the role of the Singapore higher education sector, not only in Singapore context but in the region, and also in the international landscape, especially in face of competition with these very good regional universities and also universities from the US and UK?
As I said in my lecture, I think the first and primary task of our institutions of higher learning in Singapore must be to prepare Singaporeans to meet the challenges which lie ahead and to make sure our young people are able to operate successfully, to have fulfilling careers, no matter how the future evolves. In a sense, you can use a buzzword. I think one of the principal responsibilities of our universities, polytechnics, and ITs is to, I don't like this word, but I think it seems accordant, to future-proof our students so that whatever be the future that lies ahead, because we cannot predict it, students will have the skills, the mindset, the ability to take these challenges in their stride and to have fulfilling careers and to look to the future with confidence, not with dread. And I think this is very important. Beyond that, of course, given Singapore's position in this part of the world, particularly, we can help, as I said, in a modest way to raise standards. We take in students from other countries, they go back, they occupy important positions, and in a sense that is Singapore's contribution and best contribution in developing the economies, standards of governance in our part of the world.
Are there any questions from students?
Yes.
Hi. Morning, Dr. Tan and Prof. Anand. So I'm actually a graduate from SMU recently, and I have a question for Dr. Tan. And that is, with the proliferation of all these institutes of higher education, together with the opening of SUTD and the influx of students and graduates and who are actually highly educated, what would be the repercussions on the workforce? Would it be able to take in the influx of such people, these people who are highly educated, and would there be a possibility where where the workforce can sustain this influx of people and possible depression, of pay and salaries of people already in the workforce because of this new supply of students and graduates? Thank you.
Well, I take it that basically your question is there a possibility of an oversupply of graduates in the coming years with all of these institutions, and you'll find job opportunities difficult? And the answer is yes, there will be an oversupply if the economy does not grow. If the economy remains stagnant, if we have a long recession, then of course there will be not enough work. But I think that but I'm optimistic. We live, Singapore has one great advantage. We live in a part of the world which is fundamentally growing. Asia is fundamentally growing. And this will be the case for many decades. Some people have projected that the Chinese economy will overtake that of the US by 2030, and India may overtake the US by 2050. Two largest economies in the world, located in our part of the world, and they will generate a lot of demand. There is also a rising tide of affluence, greater wealth being generated here. The question is not whether there will be jobs for graduates, but whether our graduates and the institutions that train them can give them the skills, can give them the ability to spot the opportunities to take advantage of areas of demand. One thing I see different from the past, if things go on well, I see more of our graduates, more of our people coming up from our institutions of higher learning becoming entrepreneurs, launching their own companies. They may work for the government or for a big company for a few years, but I think more and more of them will find little areas of where they can have a good career. And there are so many new professions which one never heard of before. Web designers, for example. These are very specialized people, and it's an area of growth. But fundamentally, the Asia-Pacific economy is going to be the driver of the global economy. Singaporean is located right in the heart of the Asia-Pacific. And I think that if we do our job right, if our institutions can train our people well, I don't think that there will be lack of opportunities, not only within Singapore, but I also see more of Singaporeans going out into other countries in this part of the world, or even overseas, further away, in order to realize their dreams, fulfill their potential. And what it does require is to have the confidence, the ability, the mindset that you can shape your own career, you can build your own career. You don't need to depend on somebody telling you that this is a job we have to do for the rest of our life, because that's not going to be the case. It's also going to be difficult task for companies, even for governments, I think, to accommodate to these new challenges. But this is life. Life is a matter of adjusting to new circumstances and being able to take advantage of them and to operate successfully, whatever be the changes.